This week on Engage the Sage.
Hi everyone, I'm Don Saucier. Welcome to this week's episode of Engage the Sage. This week, I'm going to talk to you about why it might be important to ask your students about their favorite memories from your semester. I think it's important to end our classes on a high note. I think at the end, it's a great time to take stock of the semester and look back and see all the wonderful things that we've learned together with our students. I want my students to finish the class thinking about good things. I don't want them just kind of surviving to the end and then trying to forget everything they've learned in my class. I want them to reflect on the value and the goodness of all the stuff that we've done together, and I want them to tell me about it. I want to actually appreciate that bittersweetness of the end of the semester where the semester is concluding and I'm not going to have the opportunity to continue to learn wonderful things with this wonderful cohort of students. So I want us to appreciate that time together. I've done several previous videos about how to rock your last day of the semester, and I've done videos on a number of last kind of activities that you can do to reflect in fulfilling and validating ways with your students about all the stuff they've learned. I've talked about having your students do top 10 lists of the stuff that they've learned. I've talked about the value of course reflections, and I've talked about your students giving themselves homework for life so that the learning that they've done with you doesn't end at the end of the semester. So today, I'm going to talk about giving your students the assignment of telling you anonymously their favorite memory about the semester in your class. I've said a number of times before, you should assign work that you want your students to do and that you're excited to process. This is going to be an assignment that you're going to be excited to read from your students. I taught 3 classes this past semester. I taught a Principles of College teaching class with 14 graduate students who are learning to be college professors. I taught a Psychology of Prejudice class, which is actually a learning community class with 18 first-year, first-time college students. And I taught a large introductory lecture section of general psychology with 203 students, most of whom are not psychology majors or minors. So I had lots of students have the opportunity to provide me an anonymous response to a survey about their favorite memory in the class that they took with me. And these were so fulfilling and so amazing to read, and I want to share with you some of their favorite memories from the semester, and I'll also share some of mine. In my Principles of College teaching class, several of my students noted that their favorite memories were related to the teaching demonstrations and observations that they conducted. They talked about how awesome it was to have the opportunity both to teach and to see their colleagues teach. One student noted that their favorite moment was all the aha moments over the course of the semester, and that their favorite aha moment was that as teachers, our students should be our highest priority. One student noted that they really appreciated the mid-semester evaluations and how we took the time and energy to go through the responses and show that we cared about their experiences in our class. Several of the students noted specific activities that we did during the semester, and these kind of help us get ready for that next semester and thinking about those activities that really stood out to them. One student said their favorite memory was the whole thing. My favorite memory from my Principles College teaching class was watching my students teach. It is so gratifying to see them take into operation all of the theory and recommendations that we talk about, the empathetic course design, the bringing peace to class, all of those things, to see them actually do that in teaching specific things in their discipline. And I had students all across the university, from music to animal science to kinesiology to psychology to fashion studies, all of these things and all of these disciplines, and see them personally apply that was so gratifying for me to see, and that was my favorite moment this semester. In my Psychology of Prejudice class, lots of my students said that their favorite moments were related to the missions that they completed in the class. And the missions in those classes are things where they go out and use the information that we've learned together to try to make their world a better place. A couple of students even noted that the missions were their favorite part, even though it took them outside their comfort zones. So I really appreciate them leaning into that discomfort to improve their worlds. Several of my students noted their favorite memories related to specific content that we learned together about stereotypes and prejudice. And several more of my students said that their favorite moments were related to the connections and friendships that they forged in the class. I will say that my favorite moment was seeing 2 of my students use their time and their voice. And I think that time and voice are the 2 most important things that we have. But they use their time and voice in real ways to promote social justice in their worlds, both on my campus in one of the other classes and also in their previous high schools, and seeing some things that were happening there that they wanted to intervene in. So seeing my students powerfully advocate for social justice, losing what they learned in my class, was really gratifying for me to see, and I'm so happy to see them do that. In my general psychology class, we had lots and lots of memories to share, so I'm going to have to be a little bit thematic in how I describe these all to you. Otherwise, we'll be here for a couple of hours. Several of my students noted that their favorite memories were related to specific information that we learned together. This included things related to the brain, things related to mental illness, things related to parenting, to emotions, to personality, to psychology applied to the workplace, to illusions, to sensation perception. So almost every single topic that we taught was someone's favorite memory to learn about. Several of my students noted that their favorite memories were creating connections to other students in the class, to me, or to my graduate teaching assistant, Noah Rankin. And they talked about how awesome it was to have a community that they could be part of as part of our class. That was really gratifying because I felt exactly the same way. A lot of my students mentioned that their favorite memory was a specific or even the general funny stories that I told throughout the semester that were related to the content to help them learn that. So I really appreciate that they saw my storytelling was helping them learn and not a tangent away from the information. And it was good to see that that helped them learn the information that we were teaching together this semester. Very interestingly, several of them mentioned specifically my story from the first week of class about trying to jump over a trash can. And if you don't know that story, we have that in another video that we'll link for you. Several of them, though, converged on a favorite memory, and this one makes me kind of feel all warm and fuzzy because their favorite memory was actually not seeing me teach, but was seeing Noah Rankin, my graduate teaching assistant, teach. And I have worked with Noah for a long time now, and to see him develop into such a wonderful teacher and to see them appreciate how wonderful he is really kind of awesome for me, and I hope Noah understands how awesome that is. So my favorite moments from the class, number one, working with Noah. And I actually worked with Noah in 2 of my classes. He was also the TA for my Principles of College teaching class. Noah is super awesome, and this semester would have been nowhere near as successful without Noah. I also love the opportunity to share my stories with my students, to chat with them before class. Some of them are on my favorite students list, they think, and you know who you are. But having those opportunities to kind of banter with them before class was really something that I enjoyed. Hearing their awesome questions throughout the entire semester. One of the things that's really important in my teaching style is giving my students the space to ask questions, and I take those questions seriously and I answer them. Probably my favorite question over the entire semester is one of my students asked, if I could meet Freud today, what would I ask him? And I'd never had the opportunity to kind of think of that before. And I think the answer that I gave, and it's still my answer now, would be I would love to see how Freud would adapt his theories to LGBTQ students as well as students who are not in the gender binary. I think I would really love the opportunity for Freud to do that rather than to assume that he wouldn't. I highly recommend that you ask your students what their favorite memories are from the semester are in your classes. I thoroughly enjoyed reading all of their responses. It was so validating, fulfilling to see the things that stuck with them. And their responses are going to actually help me try to create memorable experiences for my future students too. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I think you will too. In the comments below, I would love to hear any end of the semester activities that you use to end your semester on a fulfilling high note. I would also love to hear any favorite memories that you have from the semester that we just concluded. Thank you for watching this episode of Engage the Sage. Please like, subscribe, sign up for notifications, share us on social media, and we'll see you next time on Engage the Sage.